Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha with Ice Cream Fitness here. Alright guys, one of my subscribers who also happens to have her own YouTube channel, her name is Chelsea, and her channel is called Fitness Made Easy, and she sent me a video question, and I'm kind of excited because this is my first video question that I've gotten, and I had one hell of a time trying to get it to load into my video editing software, so I ended up taking my camcorder and recording it on my screen to make a separate file that finally works. So it took me a few days to figure this out, and I'm going to go ahead and answer her questions today. But hold on, let me give you guys a bicep shot first. Alright, and here's her video, and I apologize for the quality due to my recording.
What's up, Jason? I have a couple questions for you regarding swimming and lifting for swimming performance, specifically for freestyle sprinting. I was a sprinter in high school, and I'm working with a couple male sprinters. One's a novice lifter, one's an intermediate lifter, so I'm not sure if that would change what you would recommend, but I'm wondering what you would recommend for freestyle sprinting performance. And secondly, I'm actually looking at doing a swim meet in late August, but I'm also prepping for a bodybuilding show in June. So, since I can't lift for size anyhow, would you recommend that I kind of train for my performance in late August by doing power style lifting now? I would think that would make sense, but I'm not really sure. I could be completely wrong. So give me some input. Let me know what you think. I really appreciate your time. If you don't get to this, I completely understand. You get a shitload of questions, and it's because you know your shit. So props to you for that, and thanks for your time.
Alright, this is a bit of a complicated question, and before I could answer this, I actually had to go watch some videos of specifically freestyle sprint swimming so that I could get an idea of the biomechanics of what these athletes need. And a couple of things I noticed is that one is that this is a very hip and glute dominant movement as far as their lower body, so we don't need to really focus on a lot of quad power. We need to be very, very posterior chain dominant and hip dominant with anything we do for power for them. And I've noticed some things about the way that their arm moves specifically as they're pushing it forward, and put some thought into what lifts are going to give them more speed and power, because this is basically a power athlete. They swim for very short distances, and it needs to be explosive, and they're not really concerned with stamina. So we need to go for power movements that directly accentuate what they are doing. First of all, for the lower body, I would really like to see box squats being done. There are no negatives to box squats to these particular athletes because they don't have to maneuver in ways in which the box squat might detrain their performance. So we can go straight for that posterior chain. Now for the novice person, yeah, I'm going to recommend something different than for the intermediate. For the novice, I don't want to see them doing anything under 5 reps on these. So I would probably recommend something like 3 sets of 5 and get their technique down perfect. Now for the more intermediate lifter, I would rather them rotate through doing heavy sets of 3 off of a box and doing speed work, particularly speed work with bands or chains. Because again, we need that explosiveness in the hips and in the glutes, and we need the whole lower body to fire as one unit. Now, the thing to consider here also is that these are not really a lower body dominant athlete. There is some lower body power, but most of their power is coming from their upper body from what I can tell in the movement. So what I would want to focus on is a couple of things. For the actual shoulders themselves, I would like to see heavy overhead pressing being done. But again, 5 reps for the novice and closer to 3 reps for the intermediate. But I don't want to see a strict overhead press because they are using their lower body at the same time. I would like to see a push press so that you train explosiveness in the entire shoulder girdle while using the lower body at the same time simultaneously. It'll be a little more specific to their sport. And because they don't seem to need any eccentric strength, they can just drop the weight back down and catch it without really any focus on the eccentric. And what I would like to see for these athletes would be a standard style of push press, of what I think of a standard style, and that means a clean grip, none of this gripping the bar. I would like to see them do a clean grip off the chest, and no more than shoulder width so that their elbows can be tucked forward. So a relatively narrow grip, which is fine because they use a narrow hand position in what they do. What I would also like to see is for their back, these athletes don't need a really wide back, and they don't really seem to need a lot of power other than with the scapula a bit retracted. So what I would rather see, rather than something like a conventional barbell row, I would like to see these athletes do something like pendlay rows, and again, avoiding the eccentric rep, and possibly power cleans. Either one of those or both of those would be good. And I'd like to see a lot of shoulder strengthening and rotator cuff strengthening, which means a lot of face pulls, a lot of band pull aparts, and just a lot of band work in general for the rear delts and for the whole shoulder joint and for their rotator cuffs, because these athletes need really mobile and powerful rotator cuffs and a shoulder girdle from what I can tell. So those would be my general lifting recommendations. Now, Chelsea, as to your personal question, I would say that since you do a lot of bodybuilding work, don't start adding in a lot of power work as you're doing your contest prep. If you want to start doing power work, you need to start getting used to power work and recovering from it and building your connective tissue up from it when you're still in a surplus before you go into a serious cut, particularly contest prep, because contest prep is so draining on your body that if you're not really built up in conditions to doing true power work, it may lead to some injuries during your really depleted portions of your contest prep. So if you want to do some strength work, go ahead, but don't drop. If you're not used to doing doubles and triples, don't drop down and do those during your contest prep. I just wouldn't recommend it unless you're built up to doing them already. So what I would do is do your contest prep as normal, and then since you've already done quite a bit of bodybuilding work and you have a lot of myofibrillar hypertrophy already there to give you the basis of your performance, you can go back after your show. You have 2 months, and then I would go on pure power training for your swimming as far as your weightlifting, and go ahead and increase the neural efficiency of that hypertrophy you already have. And that would be the good time, and then you'll be on more calories and you can hypertrophy just a little more if you need to, and you can make everything more efficient. So I would wait till you finish your contest prep and you're eating again to make that switch over. And that's just my personal advice on how I would work with this. And that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you next time.